The world of true crime. Stories of fear and justice. True crime is popular now, but it's not new. It was in the 16th century that the true crime genre began to take shape. Publishers in England produced pamphlets that reported local crimes. These pamphlets often made events more dramatic to catch readers' attention. They also included moral lessons, showing readers what would happen if they did something wrong. By the 1800s, new forms of crime stories, broadsheets and penny dreadfuls appeared. They were cheap, so anyone could afford them. They also provided detailed crime accounts that appealed to a wide range of readers. When criminals were caught, detectives would interview them. These meetings started influencing crime reporting too, as they added more investigation details about why criminals committed these crimes. A major milestone for true crime came in 1966 with novelist Truman Capote's In Cold Blood. The novel is often regarded as one of the first non-fiction novels, and it set a new standard by combining real facts with storytelling. It showed that pairing in-depth investigation with an engaging story could maintain readers' interest.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to English for You. I'm Mike.
And I'm Laura.
And we are back today with day 2 of our look at true crime podcasts.
Love them.
And television shows. These are very popular things. Laura is a big fan.
I know.
You actually fit the demographic because I think it's women are actually more interested in these shows than men, which is kind of an interesting thing. Yeah. So we've already talked a bit about true crime, about, what it is and how it looks at, famous real crimes, often murders that have taken place in the past. And in many cases, they're not solved. These are unsolved or cold cases. So people like to sort of listen along, follow along, and maybe even act the detective, play the sleuth, embrace your inner Sherlock Holmes or your inner Hercule Poirot and try to solve a crime just
Nancy
like
Drew for me.
Nancy Drew, okay, Miss Marple. Solve a crime just like the great hero detectives of many famous stories have done, but in real life. So we've learned a bit about that. Today, we're going to turn our attention to the history of true crime. You might think this became most popular since podcasts and because of Netflix and other shows like that or services like that. No. Crime has been fascinating people, it's safe to say, for hundreds of years because we humans are weird, dark, twisted creatures. So let's find out about true crime and its history. It says true crime is popular now, but it's not new. So it is popular now, but it's been around for a while, quite a long while. Wow. It was in the 16th century that the true crime genre began to take shape. I'm amazed. I would have guessed maybe the 19th century.
Wow.
With some of the early mystery stories and whatnot, but it was actually the 16th century. So this is the 1500s. This is like when William Shakespeare was writing plays and things like that. So that time period, back in the time of pirates and the Spanish Empire and whatnot, the 16th century. And that's when the genre or this style of entertainment and writing, it began to take shape or it began to form.
Okay, genre 其实大家要学一下这个字哦，它也可以是写作啦、电影或是艺术等等来表示类型，像是 music genres 就是音乐类型，像比如说我很喜欢 K-pop。OK， 那 take shape 呢，其实就是成型、形成。Oh my gosh， 我又要讲一个 K-pop 的例句了。After months of practice, true story, my K-pop dance routine finally began to take shape. I want to dance for you.
I want to see this.
Yeah.
I want to see it. Hopefully it's not a true crime.
No.
I'm sure it'll be very, very good. It says publishers in England produced pamphlets that reported local crimes. So, okay, this was kind of an early form of newspaper reporting.
Love it.
Story reporting in the same way that we can read all sorts of true crime stories on websites websites of newspapers. You could get pamphlets back then. They were being published because the public wanted to read about them. They were popular and entertaining. A publisher is a person who makes printed things like books, magazines, newspapers. All right, so a publisher will print your new book, or everyday publishers around the world make newspapers for people to buy a few hours later. In this case, they were making very, very small little pieces of paper with information called pamphlets. A pamphlet these days, probably not somewhere you'll get news from, but it might be used for advertising. If you've seen people outside maybe an MRT station or a busy store and they're giving out these pieces of paper that talk about a new business in the neighborhood, that could be a pamphlet. So it's a very simple, often folded, two-sided piece of paper that has important or interesting information on it. Very cheap to produce and easy to give away.
I want one of these cold crime pamphlets.
That'd be kind of interesting.
I want to see what they look like. Okay, so publisher 就是出版社 ，England 当然就是英格兰 ，OK， pamphlet 就是小册子，所以英格兰的出版商他制作了报道当地犯罪的小册子，不知道长什么样子我蛮好奇的。
These pamphlets often made events more dramatic to catch readers' attention. See, it's 500 years ago, but they still do the same thing. Often the people who write the stories make them more dramatic, more exciting, more interesting to people, and they want to catch readers' attention. If they're saying something kind of boring and plain and ordinary happened today, you're not going to take the time to read that.
Nope.
But if they say blood, blood, death, death, murder, you're like, ooh, I want to know more about that. There's actually an old line in the newspaper business. If it bleeds, it leads. In other words, if there's a crime and someone got hurt, that's the top story because that's the story
Sad,
people are going to read, right? Rather than the president today made a new law to do something with taxes. No, we want to know about the car crash where a bunch of people died or something. As I said, humans are dark, weird creatures. Yep. But we do like dramatic things. If something's dramatic, there's a lot of emotion, a lot of excitement. It's really interesting. It's certainly not dull and boring. For example, Rachel told us a dramatic and very funny story about getting lost in an airport and also missing her plane. Many exciting things happened to her that time.
She sounds like a Rachel from Friends.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Dramatic 是什么呢？我们常常中文不是很想说不要那么抓嘛。其实这个字才是正确的，是 dramatic， 就是形容词，就是戏剧性的，或是行为很夸张的，很 over 啦，这样的意思。For example, my little sister gets so dramatic. She acts like it's the end of the world if she loses at a game. We also saw the phrase catch somebody's attention. 就是吸引某人的注意，像是but are you getting annoyed by this song? Caught everyone's attention with its catchy beat and fun lyrics.
So along with the drama and the blood and the excitement,
right?
It says they also included moral lessons, showing readers what would happen if they did something wrong. So someone stole something and got murdered. Someone drinks too much and they committed a crime when they were drunk. You know, these kind of moral lessons that you might learn in school or at church or something like that. Kind of giving the people the entertainment and the blood, but saying, you won't do this, will you? Even after entertaining us with all of those terrible stories.
所以呢，里面这个小册子还包含了 moral lessons， 就是道德寓意啊。它可以向读者展示，如果做错事会发生什么事哦。
By the 1800s, so now we're getting much closer to now, 150, 200 years ago or so. By the 1800s, new forms of crime stories, broadsheets and penny dreadfuls appeared. So the broadsheets are the newspapers we kind of think of today, more serious kind of newspapers. And penny dreadfuls, these are like shocking comic books. Back in the old days, they cost a penny and they were full of dreadful, shocking, horrible stories that still entertained lots of people.
到1800年代新的犯罪故事就形成了是透过什么呢？ Broadsheets， 这个是大报通常内容是比小报严肃，这是个名词，以及什么呢 ？Penny dreadfuls， I like that name， 就是廉价的犯罪小说就出现喽。
But says they were cheap so anyone could afford them. Because of course back then books were still probably quite expensive and average working people, many of whom could read now because of new education laws, right? So even poor people in England at that time could read, which was kind of a new thing. They couldn't afford to go to a library or have a big library of books at home, but they could afford a penny dreadful, and often you'd share it with your friends and family because they were cheap. And if something is cheap, you can probably afford it. Because to afford is basically just to be able to buy something, or in a simpler way of thinking of it, to have enough money for something, okay? If something costs $1,000,000 NT and you have 1,000 NT, you can't afford that. I'm sorry. Or if you want to afford it, you'll have to save money until you have enough money, and then you will be able to afford it. You will have the ability, in money, to buy something. For example, the new smartphone is really cool, I agree, but I don't think I can afford one right now since it's quite expensive.
Afford 呢，常我们用来表示是负担得起，它是一个动词。通常我们会说 I can't afford something， 就是买不起哦。那我要举个例子是负担得起的。After saving for months, she can finally afford to go on her dream vacation.
Ooh, that's great. She gets to go to Geelong.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty cool. All right, back to our article. They also provided detailed crime accounts that appealed to a wide range of readers. So this was a bit more of the news style of these publications, these things that were being sold and enjoyed by lots of people. There would be the shocking and the crime and that kind of drama, but they would also provide detailed crime accounts that appealed to a wide range of readers. Remember, this is before TV news. This is before anything like that. A lot of people might not even know what police did or how crimes were solved in any way. So the writers would kind of explain that to common people who might work on a farm and, never see a crime or never be near a big city or anything. So they would have these different accounts of the story. And basically an account is a story. It's a version of a story. If something happens and we're both there, my account might be different than yours, but we will both have an account because we witnessed it, we saw it with our own eyes, and we can write or talk about what we saw. That is our account. For example, the victims told their accounts of what happened during the bank robbery to the police because I said everyone who was there might have a slightly different account or version of the story.
We're not talking about bank accounts here, guys. Okay.
No, ma'am.
Account 在这里是表示记述啊、描述或是报道，这是一个名词。For example, her travel blog provides an exciting account of her adventures around the world. We also saw the phrase a range of something, 就是各种的什么什么。For example, this store offers a range of snacks from different countries. I'm gonna get some.
All right, now back then, just like now, it says when criminals were caught, detectives would interview them. Right, so we catch the person, we know it's the person, we found blood on their clothes or whatever, we found them right there where the crime happened, they catch them, but still they will interview them, they still want to know a lot of information about why, who, when, how, all of that kind of stuff.
所以当这个罪犯被抓住的时候呢，这个警方的探员就会怎么样 ？Interview 这个动词在这里指的是审问或是讯问他们哦。
All right, so these meetings, it says, these meetings started influencing crime reporting too, as they added more investigation details about why criminals committed these crimes. It's all very good to know that John killed Sam with a knife or something like that, right? But we learn a lot more if we find out why John killed Sam. What did Sam do? Was Sam innocent? Did he hurt John? Where did this happen? What time of day was it? Giving these details helps us understand the crimes more, but also as readers makes them more real, right? Makes them more realistic. Adding details and interesting little facts to your story just makes it seem more alive, more like we're actually there seeing it. Because of course we want to know exactly all the reasons why a person committed a crime. And to commit something, especially in this case, when we commit crimes, we're doing something wrong or illegal. By breaking the law, you are committing a crime. You could commit a terrible crime like murder, or you could commit a smaller crime like, driving a little bit too fast or something like that. For example, Lonnie committed a big mistake when he decided to lie to his teacher. Now the teacher knows about the lie and Lonnie is in deep trouble. He didn't commit a crime, but he definitely committed a big mistake.
那本句还包含我们的 language in focus. Let's take a look. 今天 language in focus 要看到的是 as 不同用法的比较哦。第一个，作为从属连接词时，根据前后文的关系，可表示以下几种含义哟。A. 可以表示当什么什么时候，与 when 或是 while 的意义是相近的哦。尤其当两个动作同时进行且互相影响时，较常使用 as 来强调随着什么什么也跟着什么什么。要举个例子比较清楚哦。As Sophie grew older, she began helping her younger brother with his schoolwork every afternoon. B. 表示正如、如同，是用来引述一件已知或者是已被描述过的事。For example, fold the paper as the book explains, so you can make the shape of a bird. 那 C 它是表示由于、因为，这个时候呢就与 since 或是 because 意思是相近的哦。For example, we had to wait at the stop for over 30 minutes as the bus was late. 再来 D 它可以用来表示以同样的方式和什么什么一样。举例来说， Lisa ordered a cup of coffee and a muffin for breakfast, as usual. 好，第二个呢要注意就是作为介系词时的时候呢 as 是用来表示作为什么什么、身为什么什么的意思哦。同样举个例子会更清楚哦。Sophie works as a photographer, taking beautiful pictures of weddings and special events. 那第三呢，如果 as 当作副词的时候呢，则能够表达和什么什么一样的意思。那常常是以 as blah 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 as 的形式出现哦。For example, the water in the lake is as clear as glass, and you can see all the fish swimming. Commit 当作动词，它就是犯罪或是有犯错的犯这样的意思哦。For example, the detective worked hard to find out who committed the crime. Commit 其实也有承诺、保证的意思哦。For example, you should never commit to something you don't truly believe in.
All right, a major milestone for true crime came in 1966 with novelist Truman Capote's In Cold Blood. Yeah, that's a very, very famous book, a very good book. I would recommend reading it if you're a fan of true crime. And that was also what made true crime kind of popular because Truman Capote actually was a novelist, as it says there. He wrote books for entertainment. So he wasn't just a newspaper reporter repeating facts. He was kind of making it come alive, and he was actually part of the story too. A novelist, as I mentioned, is a person who writes novels. They write fiction stories. So this is not a historian. This is not a journalist. This person isn't writing about things that are real and facts and things that exist in the world. They're making up stories, making up situations, making up characters. If you think of Charles Dickens, if you think of Kurt Vonnegut, if you think of J.K. Rowling, if you think of many of these popular people who write entertaining stories and books, those are novelists. Here's a good one to know if you like crime. Agatha Christie was a novelist who wrote many popular mystery novels. Check them out.
Okay, milestone 这个名词就是重大指标或是里程碑，而刚刚我们还提到了 novelist 就是小说家，这是一个名词哦。For example, the novelist spent years researching history to make her book more realistic. 刚刚 Mike 有推荐哦，我们课文提到的冷血 in cold blood 这一定要看，它这是描述了1959年美国一家4口被谋杀的真实案件。不多说，大家去找。
Yeah, you can definitely find a version in English or in Mandarin. It's such a famous book. I think they've made it into a movie a few times too. The novel is often regarded as one of the first non-fiction novels, and it set a new standard by combining real facts with storytelling. And it definitely set a new standard. A standard in this case is kind of a level of performance. How good something can be, in other words. A high standard, it's really good. Low standard, that's not very good. You need to get better. If you're looking at the stars in a restaurant or a hotel, right? A 5-star hotel should have a higher standard of everything than a 1-star hotel, right? It should perform at a higher level, be better than others. For example, to be a professional athlete, you will need to play your sport to a very, very high standard. If you're a pretty good basketball player, you're not getting to the NBA. You got to be amazing.
刚刚 刚有提到 standard 就是标准、水准、规范，常常我们会用 set a standard 来表示设定标准或是规范。For example, the new restaurant has set a standard for quality in the neighborhood.
It showed that pairing in-depth investigation with an engaging story could maintain readers' interest. So that's what the success of In Cold Blood showed, that you can take in-depth investigation, you can kind of try to solve the crime as the police would, but you can tell an engaging and entertaining and interesting story, and together both of the sort of fact-based stuff that the police would do and the entertaining dramatic stuff that might appeal to people, that can make for a very, very entertaining book.
所以整句话是说，犯罪纪实显示了将详细的调查与吸引人的故事结合的话呢，能维持读者的兴趣哦。
We have our chat question. In your opinion, should true crime stories include moral lessons? Why or why not?
For sure. Like, you know, that's so we won't just focus on the murdering part, okay? So I think seeing the consequences of a criminal act might make people think twice before doing something harmful.
I would definitely hope so.
Yeah, for sure. 如果喜欢今天的主题，让你感到意犹未尽，你还可以加入空中家教和老师同学一起讨论哦。
Vocabulary Review.
Dramatic. When my friend Ben tells a story, he gets loud and waves his hands in a dramatic way. Afford. Since Harry's family is poor and cannot afford to go on vacation, they always just stay at home. Account. Jack gave us an account of everything that happened at the party last night. It sounded pretty crazy. Commit. People who commit serious crimes should understand how much harm they cause to others. Novelist. Jerry decided to become a novelist because he enjoyed writing and always had great story ideas. Standard. When people started using computers, they became the standard for most types of writing and office work.
智慧小补帖
Genre. Publisher. Pamphlet. Broadsheet. Penny Dreadful. Milestone.